from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Wayne County, North Carolina. This is Seymour Johnson Personnel. From Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, we want to welcome Tech Sergeant Ian Gardner. Sergeant, how are you, sir?
I'm fine and dandy, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Ian, I appreciate you coming in. Now, tell us about Technical Sergeant Ian Gardner. Where's home for you? Where are you from?
Well, right now I'm from Pikeville, North Carolina. Originally, I grew up in the Midwest, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Indiana area. Mm-hmm. And this is home for me. I've been here almost 20 years now.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
20 years here?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's great. So, how long have you been in the Air Force?
I've been in the Air Force 26 years, since November 21st of 1991.
You know, most people get out after 20. Has anybody told you about that?
No, fortunately they'll let me stay, so I'm excited about that.
Well, that's great. What do you do?
Well, I'm in education and training. That's my current career field. And so I get the opportunity to make sure everybody's training records are correct for their job. Uh-huh. And make sure they're getting the training they need, make sure their records are all documented correctly in an automated database. Yeah. And I also get an opportunity to make sure people get to use some of the benefits of joining the Air Force, such as their Montgomery GI Bill and tuition assistance to get a college degree.
You got to love your job.
I do, absolutely. I'm pretty lucky.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
So who taught you to be a teacher?
Well, actually, I joined the Air National Guard, you know, like I said, 26 years ago, and I had a great mentor growing up, and he was a survival instructor, and that was my career field back then, life support and eating bugs and tree bark.
Yeah, I understand.
And he was a great teacher and a great leader and a great mentor, and I tried to follow in his footsteps.
You have really done well, haven't you? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
That's a great background you have there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
So, what are you shooting for 40 years or what?
Funny you should mention that number.
Why is that?
By the time I can retire from the DoD civilian job, you know, as an Air Reserve technician, I will have 39 and a half years in as a traditional reservist.
Really?
Yes, sir.
My goodness.
So I've been very lucky.
That's wonderful. So, have you given any thought? I know that's quite a ways off, but have you given any thought to what you plan on doing after?
Well, I have a lot of hobbies.
What do you like to do?
I work on cars. I've built a few antique cars.
Have you really?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about those.
Oh, absolutely. So I have a 1963 Studebaker, all-American made.
Really? What model Studebaker?
Okay, so it's a Lark, Daytona model.
That's a nice,
really pretty
compact automobile.
Yes, sir. Two-door hardtop, little
beautiful
car.
Beautiful.
It was my father's for 35 years.
Really?
And his father worked in the manufacturing plant, probably on that vehicle. So
at Studebaker?
Yes, sir. In South Bend, Indiana.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Studebaker started out as covered wagons, didn't they?
Yes, sir. That's correct. Been a long time ago, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah. And in many ways, they were well ahead of their time.
Absolutely.
The Avanti, particularly.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Beautiful car.
Absolutely.
All right. So, where's your Lark now?
At home in the garage.
Okay. Good for you.
I spent about 7 years finishing a restoration that my father started. So it's almost 100% now.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You going to show it?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the things I like to do right here locally is go to the local car shows and hang out with the Studebaker Drivers Club.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great. There was a joke back in the early 50s that the Studebaker, you couldn't tell whether it was coming or going because of the body style.
That's correct.
It was similar on both ends of the car.
50 and the 51.
Exactly,
yes,
yeah. So what else do you like to do? What are some of your other hobbies?
Okay, well, I love to golf. Just this weekend, I went to Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course and played 18 holes. Isn't
that a great course?
Absolutely. It's really, really clean and nice. Yeah. The fairways are great, and my son and I and my father-in-law had a great time.
You brought up family. Tell me about, do you have more than one child?
Absolutely. I've been married for almost 20 years, and my wife blessed me with a set of twins.
Oh, wow.
I've got one boy, one girl.
Wonderful.
And they just turned teenagers, so our world is changing at the Gardner house. Yes, sir.
I'll bet it is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your job with the Air Force as an instructor, you're making sure that the teachers follow, that the professors, instructors follow the courses?
Yes, sir. So every squadron has unit training managers, and their
Okay.
job is to ensure that the supervisors are doing their job training.
Right.
And we're kind of like an overseer of those unit training managers, and we ensure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, and all the documentation is getting done correctly, and the training is getting done. And if there's a lack of ability to get that training done, it's our job to find out where can I go to get that training for these members.
Right.
You know, can I get you to another Air Force base, or can I get some equipment here to get you this upgrade training accomplished?
What would be some of the topics, excuse me, the topics or some of the issues that would be taught or covered by the instructors you instruct?
Okay, so everybody has a different career field, whether you're changing a tire on an aircraft or whether you're working on somebody's paycheck. And so they have to teach, okay, what's the proper torque on the screw here? What's the proper way to get these paychecks into this database? And let's make sure everybody's doing it the correct way the first time.
Now you have to know all this stuff. You
Yes,
have to be the expert.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of studying and a lot of questions.
You're a valuable person to have.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what are some of the challenges that you run into from time to time? There's got to be challenges.
Absolutely. Once in a while, you'll come across some training that has to be done, and we don't have the equipment here.
Oh.
We may not have the manning to do it at a certain installation. So the challenge is, where can we get that manning from, or where can we get that equipment from? How can I get you to that training, or how can I get that equipment to you? And who's qualified on this training to give you that? So you know, there's always obstacles to overcome.
Okay, wow. Ian, that's interesting. That's a fascinating position you have there.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So where would you go from where you are now? If you moved up, what would you do? Where would you go?
If I moved up, like rank-wise in the Air Force, or career
Career-wise, career field.
Okay, so my next career move might be to be the supervisor of my office. So, of course, I'm not the big dog in the office, but I've got a great leader and a mentor there. So my goal, obviously, is to take his job should he retire, and so I've got to make myself more knowledgeable on Air Force instructions and everybody else's career field, so that I know how to better get their training accomplished and make sure everybody's doing the right thing.
And I would think you have to constantly be refreshed or refresh yourself as to what's new.
Absolutely.
New techniques, new training procedures and such.
Absolutely. The most common thing is change. Everything changes all the time.
Yeah.
There's always upgrades and updates and safety requirements, and everybody's trying to learn the newest stuff all the time. So there's always reading, always emailing each other, keeping everybody in the loop of what's going on. Yes.
So Ian, tell me, in your position, there has to be some rewards of some kind. Have you received any sort of recognition or?
Well, yes, sir. There's a program called the STEP program. So if you're in a position where you can't be promoted because of the job you're in, or maybe somebody else is already in that position, they reward exceptional performers based on anything you may have done in the past, and you submit a package for that, and that goes all the way up through supervision, all the way up through the top leadership, and up to Air Force Reserve Command, and they say, okay, well, we're going to select a few people from every base, and we're going to promote you. So just recently, they allowed me to be promoted to Master Sergeant.
Oh.
So I'm very excited about that.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thanks,
wonderful.
sir. Thank you. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's a great opportunity.
And it's also something that not everyone achieves. There's a lot of hard work involved with that.
Yes, sir.
Well, you have 26 years.
Yes, sir. And the large majority of it's right here in Goldsboro, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, with the reserves right here.
Wonderful. That's great. And again, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You know, having been in for 26 years, I know you've seen a lot of personnel come and go.
Yes, sir.
Some perhaps more qualified than others, but everybody becomes Air Force at some point. So what would you tell somebody who might be interested, thinking about joining the Air Force? What makes a good Air Force person?
Well, being in the Air Force is already great in itself, but and it makes a lot of people even more great than they already are. But I would say that 26 years ago when I joined the Air Force, I would tell you this is the best decision I ever made for my life. They got me on a good path for my future, and for a good retirement. And the career fields are great in the Air Force. You've got a lot of opportunity to excel and to go any direction you want to based on what your future goals are. Whether you want to just retire or whether you want to be in the Air Force for a few years to get experience for an outside career field. And so if you were coming into the Air Force, I would say that you're making the best decision that you've ever made in your life.
So you're looking at health care?
Absolutely.
You're looking at education?
Yes,
you're
sir.
looking at
Retirement?
retirement?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
They even give you clothes to wear. I mean, this is great.
Yes, sir. I don't have to think about what I'm going to put on when I get out of bed. That's
No,
correct.
perfect.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I take it then that you would encourage someone who may be interested in getting information about joining the Air Force
Absolutely.
to do so.
Absolutely. I couldn't think of a better place to be.
Yeah. Wow. Well, look, I wish you the best. I wish we had more time to talk because I find your career field very interesting.
Thank you.
And I love your hobbies. I'm an old car freak. I'm an old car freak. No, I'm an old car freak.
Right, yes, sir.
I enjoy old cars, put it that way. But it's great talking with you. And we've been talking with Technical Sergeant Ian Gardner
Yes, sir.
from Goldsboro, Pikeville, North Carolina. All right. Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Good to
Appreciate
meet
it.
you.